don't know if I really love that sound anymore. It makes me want to go sleepy time. Gets me all relaxed before we so wonder.
30 seconds to mellow.
Yep. Hello, Wanderers. It is Soul Wanderings night, and we, as always, are so delighted to be here with you. I'm AJ,
I'm Natalie.
and we're here to hang out with you. We're going to talk about some cool stuff tonight. You guys voted for this topic, The Divine is Not Distant, which was a version of what was the topic? Like connecting with the divine?
Yes.
Is that where we're at?
Yes. How do you connect with the divine?
Connecting with the divine, deepening the connection with the divine. That's what it was. You guys, I've been on it today. I was like, I've got my act together. I guess not. I've got some things playing in the background of my life, and they're kind of like blending into the show. So let's get those out of here. Hi. If you guys want to know more about Natalie and myself, you can visit soulwanderings.com. We've been doing this little gig for a hot minute. It's been so much fun. We're enjoying it. Today, I think I wrote over 50 new show topics because we've been doing this for a while. We've covered a lot of things, you guys, coming up with topics. Whew. If you're not sending them to us, we're coming up with them. And if you do want to send them to us, which we are just delighted if you do, you can email us your ideas at connect@soulwanderings.com. Leave a comment on any of our social media. However you choose, just let us know. I want to learn. I want to talk about this. And we'll do that for you because that's why we're here, to support you in your spiritual and healing journeys. And yeah, just like we get to do during the day with the people in our community at Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. That's where Natalie gets to assist others who are working through grief and a deeper level of knowing themselves. And I help people through trauma and self-love. That'd be a good thing.
And knowing what to quit.
Knowing when enough is enough, because that is a lesson I am learning in my life. You guys, I'm on one tonight. Are you ready for this? Okay, so we are going to talk about deepening our connections to the divine. And before we go on, I see you, Wanderers. Hello. Thank you for saying hi in the chat room. So happy to have you here. I probably should log into Facebook because we hang out over there as well as on YouTube. So wherever you're at,
give us comments.
Yeah, say hi.
Let's talk about it.
Just like it, comment, meet new friends, do what feels most comfortable for you, and then a little uncomfortable for you, which is where the growth happens.
Outside your comfort zone.
Heck yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So tonight we are going to be talking about the divine is not distant. I just want to set the intention for the show because it's not about necessarily finding the divine. It's about remembering and reconnecting. Would you feel like that's fair?
I agree.
Yeah.
And still continuing to raise your awareness so you can see.
Yeah. So take a breath, everyone. Be grounded here in this moment. We're not going anywhere. At least I'm not for the next hour. Hopefully you're not. So just take a breath, not to go anywhere, but to arrive here today with us. So let's talk about this. Everyone that I encounter in what I'm doing always ask me a question. How do you do that? How did you connect? How did you go into the records? How are you receiving information? It's different for all of us. But before we get into all of that, let's just talk about the illusion of distance first and foremost, because really there isn't. We're all hanging out here together. And society teaches us that we are separate from ourselves and from everyone else.
Yeah.
Religion teaches us that you must earn it or you have to be born with it or gifted, but it's none of that. None of that. It just is. You are it. You already are. You already have arrived. And so the only thing that's getting in the way of that is the thoughts that you think and the beliefs that you're telling yourself based on the things that you've been told. So, where in your life did you learn that the divine was separate from you, from yourself?
Was that a question for? That's a general question. Are you asking
General
me?
question, but go for it because I really enjoy your responses.
So there were so many things like just going through my mind, but I want to I had I'll tell a little story. Well, no, your question. No, I won't tell that story yet. We'll put that story in a minute. So where did I disconnect? Definitely people can have an impact on our lives, and someone can say something and made a comment and then we can interpret it. So like through my life, someone may have commented about, I remember, it's interesting. I love the process that we go through this because memories pop up and I'm like, oh, that's where, and that's where. I am a pale skinned person. So this thought came up, or memory came up, that somewhere when I was much younger woman, someone commented on my white skin, because if I don't go out in the sun, I'm naturally a pale person. This Scottish blood and fair skin, and someone actually called me Casper, like a nickname, for a little while. And there was then that I slipped away from just appreciating my body for what it is into desiring my body to be different, like darker skinned person, or be envious of someone that had naturally more melanin in their skin and could tan. And it's, I'm sunburned. I get out in the sun for too long and just fair skin of mine just gets, I've been a lobster a few times. Whew, in my life. So I feel it's in so many little ordinary ways where someone can make a comment on that. And we take on a belief structure and we begin desiring that we be whatever it is that we're not. And so often something that we're just not even capable of being, that moves us away from a self-love of just how we are. And I feel like there's so much of the divine just in these amazing bodies that we live in. Incredible what these bodies do on a regular basis. And not only our bodies, but nature in general, how it just runs. And there's so much beauty and divine everywhere we look, but we get trapped. I really feel like one of the core things that you touched on that separates us from the divine is the mind. Is the mind.
The mind is always the issue with everything in our lives. If there's an issue,
and I feel like it's built into this Maya for the mind to be a limiting factor so that we learn and grow. I did not do the baby oil that time, but yeah, that was one of the things I would have probably been way more. But those were the days back in the 80s. Was a time of getting your sun in. So the mind is just this, what I see, and really definitely through my learnings of the design, is the mind is a really good mechanism. So it's both through the learning of human design and studies in like Carl Jung's work, where he would talk about the ego and the higher self and how they're they're a duality, or they're built together. They're a partnership of sorts. But the ego is this limiting, mind-centered limitation that we are here to learn how to transcend
Mhm.
and just rise above it, but not to eliminate it. We're not here to kill the mind. The mind does what it does naturally, and it's here. It's a great analytical machine. It's a measurement of this and that, and it does those things well. But when you get trapped in it, and it's the thing that's running your life, or it's the thing that's occupying the time, it's
Mhm.
the thing that's like you're chasing the monkey mind all night long instead of just letting the body go to sleep. All these
Mm.
aspects help put a barrier between us and just the extraordinary in the ordinary life.
Yeah. I like the viewpoint from which you came from. Um, it's I I love how different we are.
I know.
Like
I do.
I just that really was a nice way for me to look at the topic from your point of view. I don't feel like I get too spiritual woo woo. I'm not really like I am considered woo woo, but I don't really resonate with that terminology. Um, I just I love personal empowerment,
Yeah.
and I feel like when people stand in their power and they learn about themselves and they heal their selves, that um, people look at it as woo woo, as magic. Like, what did you do? I want that. You know, the magic drink or the magic pill, and everyone's reaching outside of themselves for something that they desire, either forgetting or not realizing or whatever that looks like, that you were taught to search outside of yourself
Yeah.
for something that's always been within. It's always just been there. And so when we learn to go within and really look at those places inside of us that uh, would benefit from receiving the light, the awareness, the recognition, the validation, that's when the pure magic happens. And I feel like when we start removing those layers from our experiences, our connection has this profound ability to become even deeper. And so if you weren't even aware that you were connected, you start becoming aware. And if you were aware, your connection becomes even deeper because now you've removed these layers that no longer serve you, and you become this version of yourself that is authentic without
Mm.
all those noises from outside world, religion or society, or your social circles. And so I just think, you know, that is woo woo, that is magical, and also it can be your reality. I know so many of us I love woo woo comments. I just glanced a comment. Yeah, Scotchy's saying I'm woo woo AF. But yeah, I think when we just do several things, and we're gonna get into that, there are so many ways that you can gently reconnect where it isn't woo woo. It's just a remembering. It's just a reconnection. It's a softness that happens in your life when you're guided in these ways. And I don't think or feel that it is when we say to the divine. For me, I don't know about you. I'm not necessarily saying like to divine beings like angels and guides. I mean to the energy of the divine, to our true nature, because we're all divine beings. And let's talk about how we do that. How do we reconnect? How do you do it? How do you find connection with the divine, or a deepening of the connection to the divine for yourself?
So through the years, so this was the story that I was going to share. Um, I woke up the other day and I just, after years and years of practicing and understanding that I'm not my thoughts, the thoughts are part of the program. And when I'm talking about the program, it's the stream of data that's just coursing through this world. Some of it's from the sun. We haven't even begun to appreciate how our mind can pick up the radio, the Wi-Fi, all of those. If we could see all of the data stream that streams through our air, we probably wouldn't be able to see each other for all of the data, like the neutrino field and the Wi-Fi signals and the television and the radio signals and everything. This planet's a very noisy place, and our brain is a neural network. So once you realize that you're not your thoughts, and it's so like we don't even know where they all come from. So the other day I woke up and it was really interesting how I shared this with someone else, and they said that was, so I actually shared it. I have a client that's a reflector. Now, reflectors in human design are people that are like a barometer or a thermostat or a thermometer for the program. They can filter the program all the time, so they have an idea of what's going through the program. And I still woke up the other morning and I was like, what is the meaning of all this? Like, what is the meaning? Does it even mean anything? And I noticed the thought. And part of me was like, that's interesting. That's not my paradigm at all. And then I open up my back door like I do, and my back door faces the east, and the morning sun's coming in. And I look at my tree, and I have two very large trees that are old, like 70, 80 years old trees. And there's a squirrel sitting in the crook of the tree. And I've never seen a squirrel in my backyard. I don't live in an area that has squirrels running around on a net. So I was like, that's different, noticeable. And so I'm like, huh. And one is cute. Squirrels are cute. And then I thought, I wonder what that means. So I looked up the mystical meaning and such a resonance with that. So deepening my connection with with the divine often happens by noticing what I notice. So if you can pay attention to what enters your world and understand that whatever's crossing your path may carry a message, especially if there's this sort of internal, like, well, that's interesting that I saw that. And just tap into meanings. We talked about it in dreams and different things, but I looked it up, and it said squirrels are very much about preparing for the future. So there's this practical preparation for the future balanced by a joyfulness or a playfulness in the present.
I love that. That feels so good.
What a message for me. So it's a thread of messages. So that's one example of how I find the more that I live in response to the world around me, the more my head's up and I'm looking, or just there's this awareness or attention that is outside of me to notice what it is that's there for me to respond to. And there was that awareness of like learning how my design works, learning my strategy, living that more deeply. I feel so much more connected to the world and not my thoughts.
That's so yummy. It's so yummy.
So how about you?
Definitely practicing presence as you did, which to me means slowing down and noticing little things that maybe you take for granted or that you don't notice in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So like your breath, you guys know I love connecting to my breath, my body, my surroundings. I love to watch and observe. And I feel like presence practice is like number one. Being here now. And then I like to call, a lot of people call it meditation. So I'm not one to just sit around, and that it doesn't work for me. And it's not about quieting the mind. I don't believe meditation is, I mean, definitely quieting, but not turning it off, right?
Right.
I feel that for me, because holding still and being quiet for too long is not that I'm uncomfortable with it. My body is just like, okay, are we moving yet? But sitting in silence, I call it sacred listening. And just
Mm.
sitting in silence without needing any answers. So I'm not seeking anything, I'm just listening. And listening to me can be a feeling. It could be a thought that floats in. It could be something I hear outside of myself, but just listening. There's so much that we can receive when we are in the present moment and we just pay attention. And just like what you experienced, the everyday awe, like finding the divine in everyday moments, ordinary moments,
Hmm.
because they're all around us. Things are happening everywhere, and we miss them. We miss out on them because we're in our heads. We are in our devices.
Hmm.
We are anywhere but right here. And then I've said this many times in the show. I love to put my hand on my heart and just tune in. Like, what is my heart saying right now? What are the messages that are coming through to my heart? At most importantly, like that I can do at any given moment. But my jam is creating. I'm a craft junkie. I love creating art and I love crafting and I do some form of it literally every single day. It's when I get to go inward, where I feel like my spiritual connection is deepened. And I know that sounds really bizarre because how does coloring or sewing or, you know, playing with glue sticks or whatever that looks like for you connect you spiritually, but it allows you to be in the moment. And for me, I don't create from my head. I create from my heart. I don't think about what I'm creating. I just create. And that way I get to feel things in a much different way. And so for like people who love to create music or, play music or paint or write or whatever that looks like for you, I feel like um, you can deepen that spiritual connection nicely in those ways because there's no perfection in any of this. There are no rules. It's just awareness. And I feel like all of those things bring you to this moment of awareness. And you're able to receive a lot easier without those blockages and without those disturbances in the way.
And being that point of awareness, I feel is the point. So while you were talking, I had this image. So imagine if we send someone out to Mars. So we put someone on a spacecraft and they go to Mars. And while they're on Mars, their job is to feed back everything they see and think and smell and everything that they can observe on that place
Mhm.
back to our greater mind here. And instead they were just scrolling on Facebook while they're on Mars. In a way, that's what we're doing. Is we come in here, we're in these bodies, we're one point of awareness to feed to the greater collective consciousness.
Mhm.
And we're not always having our perception and our perspective. We're glued into a big, like hive mind or someone else, or as what we were talking about before, where we're trying to be something else or we're striving instead of just being solidly how you are, where you were crafted to be, where you're living, your
Mhm.
point of view, your perception. And it was just a profound vision to see it that way of like, oh, well, if we go all the way to Mars and there's this whole group of people, which is, the collective consciousness wanting your perception of where you are now.
Yes.
I feel like that's a deepening, because I really truly believe the ordinary is extraordinary. It's the everyday mundane that a lot of gurus, or like, think about what a monk does. There's a lot of teachings in Buddhism or in people that go and do a monk or something, and they're like, hey, you're chopping wood and hauling water, or you're doing dishes, and that there's these ordinary tasks to connect deeply to the life that we're living while we're here.
Yes. Ordinary.
Ordinary, extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. And your connection deepers in presence, not in performance, and not in distraction, and not in all those things that we said. That's the beautiful thing, is when you are present and in the moment, that connection deepens just from the frequency you're holding by being still.
Oh, it's definitely true. You ever watched a little kid watch an ant? Just slow down and watching an ant and how diligently they work, or you stop, and there's a difference between driving somewhere and walking somewhere.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much more to take in at that slower pace of walking. And that's what I feel like we're asking people to do, is walk in their life and not run to the next place. I always want to get, downriver a little bit. I want to be somewhere other than I am. And so many people on this planet are looking to be elsewhere in their life. I will be happy when this happens and this happens and this happens. I'll be happy then. And you find that if you can't be okay with wherever it is that you are, then you're going to find the same thing when you get there.
Because wherever you go, there you are.
That's so true. I take me with me.
Yes. I heard I don't know if it's a quote or a saying, but it was, the divine doesn't withdraw from you. You withdraw from yourself.
Yeah.
So let's talk. You want to talk about removing those barriers? Like, because we're our own worst enemies?
Yeah, I can tell you when I ask people, well, do you love yourself? And they're like, wow.
It feels very uncomfortable.
But wow, that's
okay. But I can be on the other side of that. I didn't love myself for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, me too. I didn't love the white skin. I could have been those comments that had said, yeah, and so what? This is the body that I'm in. I just didn't have it then. I didn't have back then what I've grown into, which is a comfortableness in my skin and with how I am. And I feel like that's part of what we're doing here. We come here and we have a veil of forgetting that is just a natural aspect of being born into this denser Maya. And then we get the opportunity to remember. And so some of it is, there was a course that I went through, which was a mindfulness course. And there were some very simple techniques that they taught us. There was one, it was done as a botanical gardens. So we were in a classroom setting, and then, talking about mindfulness and being present and breath and those different things. But they sent us out and they said, we want you to observe something that's out there in the gardens from like 3 feet away. And then we want to get like 6 inches from something. And the whole activity was, we want you to go out and look at the world around you. and be fully present while you're looking. And the other thing they had us do was they had handed out grape or raisins to everyone. And so you take the raisin and you just don't pop it in your mouth and eat it. You fill it with your fingers or you put it in your mouth, and you're appreciating the texture of it. And there were some people that after the feedback, you go through this process of like 3 minutes to eat a raisin.
Mm.
How often do we do something that slow? And then there were some people that said while they were doing that, they had never thought about it, but they thought about the whole journey of that grape to raisin and everyone that must have had some role to play in getting it to the box to then to be in that room.
Mm.
And that's a depth. Just that is a depth of how interconnected we are in this world.
Yeah, raisins. What?
Yes.
Natalie talks about raisins, and all of a sudden we're all one.
Who knew it was so possible to be connected like that?
Mhm.
And after that, I think so much more after that experience. I think so much more of who, how did the food get to me? Before that moment, I didn't even have that in my awareness. But through that experience that but it was this process that I go through where I had this invitation to go to this class and I made a choice to be there. And I attended every one of them and was in that experience fully. And then I have so many things to take it away. So I think sometimes we restrict ourselves by restricting what I told this to one of my clients the other day. I said, in order to gain something must be at risk. So we have to put ourselves out there
Mm.
to raise our awareness as well.
Nothing gained, nothing lost,
Right.
they say.
Yeah.
That unworthiness. Let's talk about that unworthiness.
Yeah. That is
Like it's a thing. And a lot
it
of
is a
us,
thing.
not even just like not liking ourselves, but feeling like we're not enough, that we're unworthy, that, why would we be able to connect to the divine or feel like we are divine if we don't have the worth? You brought up, the unloved or waiting, but also waiting to be healed enough.
Oh yeah.
How some people are like, well, not just once I get to this place in life or where I move, whatever that looks like, but like being healed enough, like down my journey, then will consider that, instead of having the awareness that, you're on your journey and you are that. And I feel like the unworthiness or the fear or the shame, guilt, guilt, you know?
Well, a lot of those things are woven through the fabric of many religion structures. The teachings in a lot of religions hold this, I think I would call it, I want to say it's a sort of duality, but the word is escaping me at the moment. But religions will say, okay, so if we just look a little more closely, because I'm most familiar with Christianity, I don't know a lot of the other religions. So with Christianity, they're saying there is this very loving, unconditional love that exudes from the God that's in that framework of the religion. And then they also say there's sin, and it removes you from this pool of unconditional love. If you sin, then you've got to work your way back to get into that. And so through all those teachings, but each teaching learned by itself might gain some clarity through those things. But if you just take one sermon on one day and one sermon on another day, and you take that in, and then and when you're little, you've just taken so much, you don't even realize that what you've then taken on is that I'm not perfect because I said a lie or something like that. And then you carry that, and that one act weighs a ton, and all the good works weighs, like 10 pounds. And so it becomes very much out of balance
through teachings like that. And then when you connect it in another way through the, it can be in the spiritual world, but it can be in the woo-woo or just in the woo to say, well, we came and we were made perfectly to do the job that we were born to do. And we were constructed in our own particular way. And so you got it. You're just worth it. You're just worth.
You just already are.
Yeah, you just are. And so show up in that and don't worry about those other things. And there's different studies and researchers and modes of thought that say people can be self-responsible without some worried about judgment day or something like that. There are people that just will do good things in their life just because it feels better.
Mm-hmm.
The karmic connection or those types of things, a cause and effect that can actually come from this space that says you just are. Just go and live your life and find something, do the things that you notice what doesn't feel good. If you do this thing, that doesn't result in the same thing that doing this thing does. So pay attention.
Yeah. And you don't have to fix yourself to be worthy of your connection. There's nothing to fix.
Nope.
I always believe that wherever we are perfect, whole, and complete in that moment.
Yep.
I'll get questioned and challenged on that. I don't have all the answers, you guys. There are some horrible people in the world. Are they perfect, whole, and complete just as they are? Yes. Everyone serves a purpose. There's a purpose for everyone in this lifetime. And so, yeah, even in your messiest days, you're still held in some way.
Uh-huh.
Because there's no version. There's no version of you or anyone that doesn't get to receive. The divine doesn't refuse anybody.
No, in fact, it will. There are some ways I've heard it described that said the divine will give you all that you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Just notice what you're asking for.
I was just thinking that in my head. We're not talking about manifestation. However,
well,
be very detailed.
Yeah, we are talking. Well, we're not, and I'm not even coming from a manifestation framework with that. I'm talking about just, when you're connecting, it's all in divine order.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people in quantum physics say that if one molecule was out of place, it would collapse. So it's in order. And I spent some time practice this. I did this for a while. My friends would make fun of me because I would say, it's all in divine order. And I had this hand motion. It's all in divine order. And I said, I don't know how that's divine.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first read the words, it's all in divine order, there was a depth in me, a resonance with that language that I felt it was a capital T truth.
I was going to say it's truth. That's what you felt.
Yes.
That's
resonated as truth. So I wove that into because we're programmed in all sorts of ways. So if we're highly programmable, I would like to choose what I'm being programmed with. So I choose that. It's all in divine order. And it gave me a framework to trust my life, to don't hate the petty tyrants. The people that are in my life to get under my skin, they're there. They're there for a reason. It's some of my most powerful teachers are the ones that can sort of like make me wobble. Like, oh, you got me there.
Wobble, huh?
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm like, oh. On that balance beam, and then you're just like, oh, out of alignment. That was a good one. I wouldn't have put myself through that lesson.
Oh, I love this one. Charles coming in with the goods. There you are, Charles.
That is really good.
We are actors on the stage. We did not build the theater.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would have built it a lot differently.
Yeah.
Charlesisms. He's
There is an appreciation, and I did find that when I would say I wouldn't have put myself through that, an appreciation of a higher awareness that knows how to challenge me and bring me through, to meet the challenges in my life with an awareness of saying, okay, not sometimes it's like, well, life is school.
yeah.
I'm going through a lesson, and sometimes it's an appreciation of something as I look backwards of what I've gained from a difficult life situation, or even from happy life situations. We can gain from both. And an appreciation for that of saying, I would not have done that for myself, but thank you for putting me through that. It's a good lesson.
Right. And that I know when people hear about some of my life experience, they're like, whoa. And now, how are you grateful? Because I'm always like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that experience happened for me.
Yep.
And, it really was, it wasn't a belief that I just started believing. It happened with my connection. Because when you have experiences and then you have this validation afterwards, you can't help but deny that you are connected at all times. There's just too many things validating you. And so, like I said, through the course of healing, through the course of like learning to love myself, things like that just became deeper and deeper and deeper. And I know it will continue to do so. And it really is that easy. It really is that easy, you guys. But also when you look at healing trauma, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound easy. But when you look at hindsight, looking back, you're like, wow, you know what? I did it. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was, or it wasn't as bad as I thought it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about ordinary, and what you call ordinary might be the most sacred thing in your whole entire life. Like if we put things in boxes, we'll never have the full experience. What were you going to say? It sounded like you were about to say something. It felt like you were.
Yeah, I was I don't know. I think it went away. That it'll come back around to me.
Oh, good.
But
I love that it works that way for you.
Yes, it'll come back or it won't. But there, yeah, I don't know. You have to ask me another question. There's just so much to talk about. Oh, yes. See, it did come back around. I was feeling like back into talking about connecting with the divine. There is this concept that said, if in your life you hear something 3 times, there's the messages. So the way that I used language around it was I would say I didn't always hear my life talking to me out loud, but that was one way that I learned to listen to my life talking to me. So because you were talking about trauma healing, and there's a lot of times people might hear about a book to read, or they might hear about someone that offers services, and they might hear it from this friend or this other friend, or they might get this person coming up on their feed somewhere, because these algorithms are really fascinating to watch. Or someone might mention this person on a podcast, and if you learn how to listen to your life, you're being guided, and you really start to realize that we're not ever alone in it. We're in this very intricate tapestry. And so that's one way to like pay attention. If you've heard something more than one time or 3 times, that maybe that's for you. There's a message coming through you. We take our life in through our eyes and ears and smells, and the people that we bump into, and trusting all of that. And it can be hard at times. You and I both know that it can be very difficult to have some thought about this thing that's happening, or a difficult relationship, or people that are just, it's hard. There's so many hard situations. There can be, like, if you've had a horrible accident, an automobile accident, and you have your body damaged. How is that for you? And that those are difficult things to find the divine in, and yet it's there.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up the body. I obviously have some experiences that I have been going through for a big chunk of my life with my body. And I have to tell you, I think that's one of the most significant times of my life, when I feel completely connected and just receiving so much. I don't know how to explain what I'm receiving, because it's not like messages per se, but it's a frequency. And when I'm in these experiences where, like, my body's not working, I don't want to say correct, or how would I say that? It's not working like normal. I don't want to put any negative connotation on it. So I'm just there. I literally just have to be still. And the only thing that I can do that supports me is, one, be mindful, right? Be mindful of my thoughts, which is not something I've always done, because I've cursed my body. I've been mad at my body. I've wondered why I'm stuck with a body that doesn't fully function the way that it needs to. And when I started working on myself with the things that I would say to myself, and the way that I would talk to my body, even in the times that I didn't feel like it was working for me, and just having gratitude for, I have a body, my heart is beating, it is strong, I have air in my lungs, I am breathing, things like that really, really supported me into learning to love what is. So our experience, why I bring this up, is because I'm sure some of you are like, well, I've got this and I've got that, and that's why I can't have this, or I'm not connected to that. And we can put any excuse on any experience. But I always want to invite people to, like, what's the flip side of that coin, or what's the greatest case scenario in that experience? How would you like to feel in that experience? How can we rewire those thoughts to be working for you instead of against you? Because I know from experience, when I have gone within and I've been, like, grateful and reconnected to my body in a way that works for me, that the stillness in those moments is where the divine
Hangs out.
through. Yeah, it's where the divine got my attention.
Mm.
It's where I felt the information flow through me. It's where I come up with these really great ideas. It's where I honor my rest and my body for what it is and what it can do, instead of the limitations that I have. And I'm telling you, when you guys flip the script, because it is your story. Charles talked about, the actors on the stage and the theater we didn't build. Well, if we're actors on this stage, we get to create the storyline. We get to create what that looks like and feels like for us. It really is that simple. And the whole process of that is divinity. That is divine. That is your birthright. That is yours for the taking. You are never meant to feel all of these other experiences, like suffering and struggling and things like that, on a long-term basis. They're teachers.
Right.
They're just teachers. And the more that you learn to process through them, the deeper your connection is going to get, because you're trusting. you're allowing, you're flowing, you're receiving. And those are all higher frequencies instead of being stuck in it like, my body sucks or my mind sucks or whatever you have to say about yourself. And I cancel delete that because I don't, I'm not, it's just a saying. That's not for my body, but it really is just a shift in frequency. And regardless, the divine is always with you, but it's like fine tuning a channel. You guys hear the static, you got to just dial it in a little bit to hear the words. And it really is that way. It really is just a little fine tuning. And then you'll have the validation, or you'll have those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, it's real. It's really happening. And then you'll want it more. And so you'll become more present. You'll become more aware. You'll become more creative. You'll seek out opportunities to validate your experience. You'll feel worthy. You'll learn to love yourself. Your body's going to heal in ways that you never thought were possible. That's all divine work. All of it. It's all encompassing.
I learned so much from the times where I had pain in my body and I leaned into it, and I didn't like look for a diagnosis of some disease that would be established as a chronic
Limiting.
condition and a limitation. And I remember some really profound times where the pain was so intense that I couldn't do anything but be with the pain. But wow, like the depth of pain, it's very difficult to put in words my experience of laying there in so much pain and feeling the pain as like a companion of sorts. But there was like it had its own personality, had its own energy with it. And I also learned why. By being with the pain and leaning in, I learned that there were things that I used to be able to do with my body, and the older that I get, it had a different impact on me. And there were things that my body talks to me about, that it's a body tell that's the only. Sometimes pain is the message of a shift that's necessary, or the parts of the body that need attention in a healthier way, like my body needs movement more often, or just some simple things that if you hadn't been going to the gym and you go to the gym and you have pain because your body is working off all of the toxins that are in there, and you work your muscles, and then you're like, oh, and then you limit again and you don't go back to the gym for another 3 weeks, and you go through all that cycle all over again. Sometimes it's just the muscles going, wow, that was a lot, and so we're going to keep on working that. The body talks. There's this language with that. And I definitely found new levels I could go to when I went through that experience of connecting to the pain instead of trying to. I heard this saying the other day that said, be careful casting out your devil because it might be the best part of you.
I've never heard that.
I think someone was quoting, and I think he said it was Nietzsche, but it was that part where the divine maybe looks like the devil, that we want to just get rid of all the difficult things. There's a lot of times I'll have people that will that will actually talk about, I don't want someone to have a difficult time. And I'm like, why would you take that from them?
I just noticed I had a typo.
Yes. Should I going to correct that?
Yeah, I'm going to correct it.
She's like, that doesn't work. It's up there.
There we go. Poll is up for next week's show. Why Natalie Chit Chat.
Yes. Well,
I almost forgot to post it, you guys. I just looked at the time and I was like, oh.
It's flying by here.
I know. I didn't realize how late it was. So, you guys, if you want to vote for next week's show, we have the energy of receiving or sacred boundaries without guilt. Just type the number 1 or number 2. That will put in your vote. Thank you. If you don't catch us live, just put it in the comments. I go back through and look at everything.
Catch it all. So that I talking about the divine that looks not divine. So we can even have an idea of what divine is supposed to be. And that can mask. It's not, it's just this whole realm. So I've really learned to appreciate. I like the don't hate the petty tyrants saying. I'll remind myself, you don't hate your petty tyrants. The person that can get under your skin is your teacher and is quite divine. That is all of these things. So I have learned through my life, and part of it's the way that I'm designed to appreciate this Maya, this material plane. We're here only for a time. And so be in it. Like, what's your role to play, and live and roll and do the best you can at that role.
Yeah.
Live it to the full extent.
And I had thought of something when you said definition, because I wanted to define like the definition of divine, but I don't think that's necessary because it's so different for everybody, and what that looks like and feels like is so different for everyone. And I just feel like the moment you stop chasing that feeling or that definition or what that looks like for you, you start feeling. And that's where you're going to find the connection, is in the feeling, not the chasing, not the thinking. And again, you don't need to get closer to the divine. It's about getting closer to yourself. What's so funny?
Oh, it's so, this resonates as so true, because I also, in my mind, I was smiling because I can, I look at so many body graphs and use human design and so many things. And I was explaining it today that within what we have defined in our body graph or in our design is our nature. And that is what we send out to the world. We emit that from our aura. What we have built into us that's there from the moment we're born till the moment that we die is consistent, and it's the energy we always send out. And then there's all these areas that are open and receptive, and that's what we receive in from it. So I was smiling because since when you're connecting to yourself and understanding that you're divine, you send out a higher quality of emanations from your aura. And then everyone around you receives this higher quality emanations, and they're receiving that. And so when you were talking about, you just need to feel it. And that's what we feel from the world around us is the definition. And it's all divine.
It's all divine. That's
why I was smiling, was that concept that was flowing through me, that I was like, oh, that's the way it works. It's so great.
Good. So good.
So good.
So this week for your, sometimes I throw out like challenges or just feeling on, I want you guys to just notice moments of connection throughout your day. That's it. Just notice moments of connection throughout your day. If you want to add an extra level, send it gratitude when you do. Thank you. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for teaching me. Gratitude will just raise the numbers. Raise the numbers in the connection.
It really works.
It really works, you guys. Experiment and play. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed your interactions and participation in the chat rooms, especially over on YouTube. It's poppin'. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Next week, we'll be talking about one of those two topics. If you didn't vote, hurry and throw a number in there. And if not, if you're listening to a replay, leave it in the comments. We want to chat about what you guys want to hear. So Thank you. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys all next week. Right,
Have a-
Natalie?
That's right. Well, I'll be here.
Say your have a good night.
Have a good one.